We laugh. We cry. We learn. But really, what doesn't kill you makes you better at managing clients and everyone. I'm Morgan Friedman, and this is Client Horror Stories.
Hey everyone, welcome to the latest episode of Client Horror Stories. Very excited today to have the one and only Max Emma with me. How are you doing today, Max?
I'm good, Morgan. It's great to be here. Good to see you.
Yeah, our last call was fun. I'm looking forward to the episode that's about to start. And I think it's awesome. You have two first names. Puts you in an awesome category.
It does. The only problem, one of them is my last name, so I have to deal with it all my life.
Exactly.
People looking for a woman, and Mr. Max, Mrs. Max, and I'm like, okay, look under different names. So whenever I make a reservation, I always have to double check because no, we don't have you. I'm like, yes, you do. And then they find it.
Love it. Morgan is a gender ambiguous name, so I either get you're a woman or I'm a black actor.
Yes, yes. Well, look, it's whatever works for me, and any PR is a good PR, so I'll take it.
Love it. With that, I'm have my coffee with whiskey in hand, and I'm excited to hear your best client horror story today. Let's go.
Well, I have a lot of them, but since the show format is limited because we all have lives, I, I'm gonna tell you about one. So I'm a
We don't.
CEO.
Unfortunately, our episodes are not 18-hour episodes.
I know, and maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's why we have a chance that most of the people will survive through the end of this show. So I run several companies. One of them is bookkeeping. We do bookkeeping for over 100 franchise brands. Yes, as any accounting company, we've had horror stories. But a second business that started because of bookkeeping is bookkeeping franchise. We're selling bookkeeping franchises all over the United States, helping people to own their own bookkeeping businesses. So my horror story is going to be about this one in particular and about a franchisee who worked for corporate America and wanted to have her own business. Look, when you sell franchises, franchisees become your clients. So they are the ones that we work for. When I run a bookkeeping company, end user is my client, somebody who needs profit and loss, balance sheet, and that type of stuff at the end of the month. But when you run a franchise company, a franchisee who believed in you and bought your franchise is your client. So
Yes.
I had somebody, very nice person. I like her a lot.
But by the way, just as a comment on that before you continue, make an interesting point that's worth diving into, which is often your client isn't quite who you think it is, or there's different people who are like your client. So you're pointing out that your franchisee is effectively your client. I think the same about a whole bunch of different roles, including, for example, a boss. Like the client, you need to make them happy so they continue paying you. Your boss, if you're an employee, you need to make them happy so they continue paying you. So it's a lot of the comparable dynamics that you see with clients as well.
I agree because I hear a lot of people who work in different companies like, well, I don't interact with the client. Well, you don't interact with the client directly, but because of your job, a lot of things are at stake. So you're absolutely right. It's very
Exactly.
important to remember that. So in this particular case, the lady bought the franchise and, she always wanted to be her own boss. And, she went through training and she knew how to do the technical part of the job, but she never owned her business before. And so as soon as she finished the training, was supposed to go live, she just told me, "Oh, I have a trip planned. It's a family vacation with my family. It's been planned, for years, and all of us are going. We're going to be gone for months and a half." I'm like, okay, well, if it's planned, it's planned. But I wish you would have told me prior to going to training. I would suggest for you to postpone either the training or opening of the business because you are live, but nothing is going on. So the PR announcement is there. A lot of things are in place, but yet you are not available to effectively run or even start the business. So she didn't do what she probably was supposed to do. And again, I found out literally a week before she did go, maybe 2 weeks. And then so she went on vacation.
So let's dive into that for a minute, because I think already what you're saying, I think Max, you're doing a good job of compressing lots of insights into short details. So let's flesh it out for a second, because I think there's a really good point there, which is it's cool to go on vacation, but what's really important is you communicate expectations to other people you're working with. Oh, we're going to open this thing, then okay, communicate it as early as possible when you book the trip, so that everyone knows, so that they can then say, oh wait, maybe we'll postpone this, and so on. And the second insight that's coming from what you're saying is, if someone is about to launch something new, start your own company, which is what launching like a franchise effectively is. You're about to start something new, and then, oh wait, I'm going on vacation, like before it even starts. That's a yellow flag that their enthusiasm and seriousness might not be at the levels needed in order to effectively make the project a success.
Yes, but look, at the same time, I would not tell her not to go on vacation, especially if it was
Vision.
planned and the whole family and the kids and other family members were getting ready for that. Go on vacation,
Of
but
course.
just open the business few months later. Just, tell me, hey, Max, I'm going out for 2 months or whatever. I'm not going to be available. I would say, hey, let's open later. Let's not just have the grand opening now and have expectations, because again, we did have the expectation. I mean, we have company that does social media working for her. We have other
Yes.
services, technology, so on and so forth, which she has to pay. So we're sending her bills. She's paying for that, and nothing is going on. There is no revenue. So I think all of that could be prevented. And look, you and me talked about it prior to the show. My horror story is like, thank God nobody died. It's not like, yeah,
Absolutely.
it's not that type of a horror, but I just take it that a lot of people can learn from it. And I agree with you.
Absolutely.
Just flushing the expectations up front would solve a majority of it.
That's all I meant to emphasize, was going on vacation is cool. In fact, almost anything you want to do is cool. But if you're clear on the expectations beforehand, then other people can plan around it. I think a lot of inexperienced people don't realize that based on what you say and you do, other people you work with make their plans and set their expectations based on what you're doing. So you just need to communicate it so that others can change their paths around you.
Absolutely. So go ahead.
So then she went on vacation, and what
No,
happened?
she was on vacation. I mean, nothing was happening while she was gone. And when she came back, my expectation was that she would jump into that and try to make up the time she missed. But, and I don't know, either she spent more money on vacation she was planning, or it just she expected that the business just gonna start by itself. Now, look, when we provide the franchise, we're helping with clients, we're helping with staff, we do full training. But yet, it's expectation of a franchisee to go and get the business. Like whatever business we offer them, that's a cherry on the top. But they have to do a majority of the work. As any franchise, I mean, that's all about marketing and sales, getting the clients. Franchise gives you a blueprint how to run the business, but we tell you how to go get clients, but you have to go get them. And then at some point, shortly after that, she hit me with the message, hey, we need to talk. And when we talked, it's like, well, I have a financial difficulty. I need to support my family, so I need to find a full-time job. So that's not working for me. Well, and I would tell her, if she talked to me before buying the business, that if you don't put enough time into this, nothing will work. So you have to put time. You have to, do the legwork before you see the results.
So super interesting. So I know nothing about franchises, but guessing based on what you're saying, it could be. I feel like people, when you start a company, you have to do the hard work. But it could be when you buy a franchise, especially for inexperienced and less sophisticated people, you could be thinking franchise is the shortcut, so you don't need to do the hard work. So this could have been what this woman was thinking. I don't need the hard work. I just got a franchise.
Probably, and people, don't understand. All franchise does, it just shorten your learning experience. So instead of you figuring out something on your own, you have a franchisor who hopefully done it before and can tell you, okay, do this, don't do that. And when you buy a franchise, you have other franchisees around you that you can run a scenario by them, and they'll tell you, oh, I've tried this, it didn't work for me, or that was a great idea, I got a lot of results. So that's why you're getting into franchise versus opening your own bookkeeping franchise, or opening your own bookkeeping business, or for that matter, any type of business. And look, as you know, one of my businesses is actually brokerage, franchise brokerage, where I can help people to find a franchise, not necessarily bookkeeping, if they're not a good match for bookkeeping franchise. And I have over 650 franchises to choose from. It works for any franchise. I don't care if it's a pizza restaurant, bookkeeping, insurance company, or pet sitting service. It's exactly the same. When you start the business, you expect to go develop the area, get the clientele. I mean, most likely there is a business like that already exists in your area. So you just have to educate people why they want to go with you,
So
and multiple bookkeeping companies. Back to bookkeeping, there are 125,000 bookkeeping companies in the United States.
wow.
125,000. A lot of them are one-person shows, but it's still a company, and some of the one-person shows are very successful. It just they have a problem scaling because they get themselves busy and then they don't know what to do, where to hire, how to manage employees, and so on and so forth. But I'm not going to sit here and say that the only way to grow your business and to be successful is to have 55 employees. No, you can be successful having zero, maybe having one employee, but it's just a different model. So whenever
Correct.
I have a franchisee, a new one, during the training, I ask them, give me your plan. Where do you want to be in the next 1 year, 3 years, 5 years? And these goals are different for everybody. And again, it's not right or wrong. Some people are willing to put a lot of effort, money, time into building the business and eventually get a great return. But some people saying, you know what, I'm comfortable having, 60, 70, 80 clients and live comfortable life and go on vacation every 4 to 5 months and enjoy time with my family and don't work the weekends. For me, that's more important. And all power to them. Again, there is no right or wrong. You have to find your own balance. I don't care what business you're running. You have to find the balance between life and work.
Also, all of that makes sense. And I agree with the words of wisdom. So this woman came to you after the vacation. How long was it before, like after the vacation, until
But
she told you?
probably a few months after the
Few
vacation, and
months.
I always leave franchisees alone. After that, I'm like, I'll let you get your feet wet. I'm available. All of my
Right.
franchisees have my phone number on their speed dial, so I'm available. They have phone numbers of my team on speed dial because I can help with business development and marketing, but I'm probably not probably for sure I'm not the best person to answer operations
Yeah.
questions. I have team for that, and
Right.
they can ask, and they spoke regularly. I think I spoke to her a few times, but I'm like, well, everything is taking place. She's getting to know people around the area, and eventually it's gonna work. And then she just hit me with that hey, she has a financial hardship and she needs to support the family and she needs to find a full-time job. And when we got onto the call and I started talking to her, explaining that you have to give it some time, she said, oops, I already found a full-time job. So it was like, okay. So pretty much she just wanted out. And look, we did consider, and franchise, obviously there is agreement, there are legal stuff, but
Right.
I'm not gonna do create problems for somebody
Yeah.
if somebody wants out, and especially they have financial hardship. So we did work it out. The company took over her franchise, and everything. We finished it really nicely for both sides. But the problem was she didn't come to me soon enough where we could do something about it. She pretty much just informed me, okay, oops, it's already done.
So that's a very important point that has come out a few times in previous episodes, but not much, and is really worth emphasizing. And I actually don't even remember if I've ever said this as clearly as I'm about to say it now. A super important principle of being professional is when there's a problem, to share it with the key people you work with at the earliest possible moment so they can help you solve it. So in a more ideal world, this woman, when she was starting to doubt or feel pressure or want out months earlier, to have gone to you then, because either back then you could have, or your team could have helped her solve the problems and make it a success, or you could have decided to end it even earlier so that less time, money, energy would be wasted on both sides.
I agree, but another thing that actually bothers me in this whole situation is that this woman, she put the money into the business, she spent the money, she spent, the time, she went through training, she left her corporate America job, and she gave it a chance. And I'm afraid that she might not come back to the world of owning her own business because she got burned. And it could be different. Look, not every business, you know, ends up to be successful, but you try one, then you turn around, you open another one, you open another one. I mean, I went through a lot of stuff in my life, including bankruptcy, which taught me a lot, and not only taught me a
Wow.
lot, but also brought me, that's how bookkeeping started. It started as a necessity, when we declared the personal and business bankruptcy. So there is a light at the end of the tunnel. There are good things that are going to happen. But if you get burned, then you might say, well, the owning a business is not for me. And maybe
But
that's a mistake. Maybe not, but who knows?
so actually, this is another lesson here. Today's episode is fun with you, and it's taking an interesting form where you're having these interesting words of wisdom, and I'm interpreting them. Which is what you're getting at is the following, at least translated into Morgan language. Oh, actually, I forgot what I was going to say, but I was going to interpret it and translate. But I've had one coffee too many today, apparently. But super interesting insights, and it's just so valuable in order to start the difficult conversations on the problems as early as possible. Oh, I remember what I was going to say about being scared off. But that you made the great point that no, I remember. I need to wake up early in the morning for me. You made the excellent point that because of this experience that failed, she may never take the leap again to try building something on her own or as a franchise in the future. And this is a pattern I see a lot in so many different work contexts where there's a best practice, something good, something healthy to do. But for whatever reason, the first time you try doing it, it just doesn't go well. And a lot of people, I know far too many people who get scared off at the very first time something fails. And I think there's this superpower if you're able to like fall down and then lift yourself up again and keep on trying and trying and trying and trying.
And I would take it even one step further. It's not only business, it's personal too. You get into bad
Mm,
relationship, and then you just, okay, relationship is not for me. And then a lot of people, I know personally, a lot of people that being single for years because they had a bad marriage, a bad relationship, and they're afraid to get burned again, and they just don't want to get hurt, and they're just not taking the chance. So I think it's way past, just the business. Because look, I can argue, I've been entrepreneur for 23 years now, but I can argue you can be very successful being an employee of a company. So CEO of Disney is not the owner of Disney, but you know, I think a lot of people, most of the people that I know in my life are not making as much all combined that the CEO of Disney does with all the
right.
bonuses and everything. So not, it's not, nothing is wrong to be an employee of a company. You can be very, very, very successful, but you're just not gonna give it another chance. And that's the issue that I'm having.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. What I would add to that is it's hard for people, humans, human nature, to find a balance between these two extremes. Where at one extreme, there are people who are burned once and then they get scared to get into another relationship again. But then there are other people who get into a bad relationship, get out, but then get into another bad relationship in the exact same way, keep making the same mistake over and over and over again, and they never get out. So in order to not fail at whatever it is you're doing, you need to be able to calibrate that balance in the middle in the middle of the two extremes, like, and interpret when it, like when things go wrong, is that the moment to stop doing that thing, or is that the moment to try to learn and try it again?
I think whether it's a relationship or a business, it's the best way. Well, I mean, if I can give a advice, is
Please.
to actually sit and analyze it, because I strongly believe the lessons are repeated until they learn. So the bad relationship going to come back to you until you're actually going to do something about it. So just sit down, analyze. Okay, that's how I did it. What did I learn from it? How can I move on from this? And then you're going to get on a different spiral. I mean, you're
Yeah,
gonna get to a different level. But if you haven't learned anything, you're gonna get the same, ugly relationship or same crappy job or whatever it is, or you're not gonna be successful in business again. Doesn't matter what you're doing. It's just the
totally.
law of
So
life, in my opinion.
I I agree with that. I would add two footnotes to that. One is something that I always tell my employees as a part of my management style, which is I tell them I will never get angry at you for making strategic mistake. Like I get unhappy when people are careless, but if you make a smart decision and it goes badly, I'll never get angry at you. However, I tell them I don't want to see the same mistake more than once, and the importance of your advice of analyzing what goes wrong so you can learn from it feeds into that. Say, okay, we've made this mistake, we've messed up now. How do we make a different mistake the next time? And I think a second point on that, I think of eloquent way of saying that is a cliche often attributed to Albert Einstein, but it's just a really useful simplification, but really makes his point clear and strong, which is he apparently said something like the definition of idiocy is doing the same thing again and expecting a different result. And what I like about that is it's a simple way to remember, oh yeah, it went wrong last time. Now my relationship went bad last time. Now I'm dating a carbon copy of my last girlfriend. Like, guess what? If I did a carbon copy of my last girlfriend, she's probably gonna be difficult to date in very similar ways to the last one.
100% for sure.
Okay, great. So with this woman, she wanted out, and you said, you're not causing any problems. You came to an agreement. Happy ending. Hopefully, she will not be scared off from trying her own thing or trying a franchise in the future. Question: based on this experience, did you change your processes to have check-ins with new franchisors or at earlier points, or maybe different methods to try to identify if they're not being happy or at risk of leaving in order to prevent these mistakes going forward?
Well, I'm not pushing them, like they know I'm available. We have weekly meetings where all franchisees come in and somebody from the C-suite is always there. So they have access to us all the time. And I'm trying to make to as many of those as possible. And if I don't see one of the franchisees for a while, I just ask the team, hey, do you know what happened? How come, he or she is not there? And then we do some processes. But what I do when during the training, I address the situation like that. I'm like, hey, look, you have to have clear expectation. Communication is the key. So pretty much without going into detail about this situation, not that it's a secret,
Yeah.
because there was a happy end for
Yeah.
both parties, but I'm just telling people what to expect and how not to repeat this situation. So yes, I definitely learned the process. And also when we interview the potential candidates for the franchise, I make sure that I see if somebody is like super scared and never worked with, never owned their own business. I'm addressing, hey, how would you deal with this? How would you deal with that? Somebody who's inexperienced and want to learn, we all were inexperienced at some point, and that's totally fine. But somebody who's afraid
Yes.
and never will make a decision and never will take a risk is probably not a good person to own a business, if you ask me.
That's that's a good point. What I add to that is when people have been in the corporate world too long, it feels like depending on a salary for too long will over time will make you less likely to want to take a big risk, such as starting your own company or a franchise. So that is a good observation to look at their backgrounds as part of this risk evaluation.
Yep. So I mean that was a great experience for me. It was very interesting, and I'm very happy that it happened in the beginning of the system where we only had few franchisees, because obviously the bigger you are, the more costlier this mistake can be for this franchise system. Because I have other franchisees I have to support. I have to, do what's right for the system. So I'm glad it happened. I learned from it. I moved on, and I'm hoping I will not make the same mistake again, and prevent somebody from making the similar mistake.
Yeah, it's repeating the same mistakes is idiocy, uh,
As you said, yeah.
as Einstein's advice can. I said it in a different context. The advice can kind of apply to everyone, and with that, it's there's been some good insights that have come here, and interesting learning about the franchise world as well. So, Max, thank you for your time. Thank you for this wonderful episode and learning experience for everyone, and everyone who's watched it to the end. Thank you for watching it this far. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as we've had making it. Until next time.